Hello, I'm Daniel D.H. Harrison of Country Boy Brewing, and this is the Brewer to Brewer podcast from All About Beer. My guest today is Justin Neff of Sonder Brewing, and he is here for a conversation that goes beyond the brew house and into topics that matter to brewing professionals and to curious beer drinkers. But first, let's do some housekeeping. Please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow social media at All About Beer. And please, to support journalism in the beer space, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. We'll get into the conversation in just a moment, but first, this message.
Malteurop Malting Company is proud to introduce the new Malteurop, grown and malted in Mexico. At Malteurop, they're proud to be growing and producing malt in Mexico. They work hand in hand with Mexican farmers to ensure the best barley, which is then processed in their own local Mexico malt house to create this exceptional Malteurop. This product is a superior quality two-row base malt and provides consistent quality designed to satisfy your desire to brew a true Mexican lager. Contact Malteurop today and visit malteuropmaltingco.com. Next time you're going through your books, check and see how much you're paying for brewery software. Odds are you're paying way too much. Ollie is the fastest growing brewery software that is saving brewers time and money while delivering the tools they need to grow their business. Learn more at getollie.com/pod. That's getollie.com/pod.
All right, let's get into it. A bit about my guest today with a bio I'm going to read, and then we'll get into one of my favorite people in the industry. The easiest and likely most accurate way to describe Justin Neff is passionate. And everything he does, Justin puts his passion on display, whether that is being a father to his 4 children, a husband to his wife, Liz, his relationship with Jesus, or running his business, Sonder Brewing. An avid and engaged sports fan, Justin graduated from Indiana University with dreams of being on the radio, but ultimately landed firmly in corporate America in Chicago, Illinois. Working in the food and beverage business field with several large companies brought Justin to Cincinnati with what was planned to be a short stint of a couple years. That was until he and his wife fell in love with the city of Cincinnati, which they call their little gem. Justin always has had a deep-rooted passion for beer, and it began with homebrewing with his dad for many years. While working his corporate day job, he would often spend nights and weekends brewing beer at home. When he wasn't brewing his own beer, he was actively buying and trading beers with his friends around the country. With a true entrepreneurial spirit and heart, the next chapter of his professional life began in 2018 when he and 3 other partners opened Sonder Brewing, where Justin currently operates as the president of the company. While not at the brewery, he spends his time with his wife, 3 daughters, and 1 son attending sporting events, chasing the latest sneaker releases, or listening to music. Justin, welcome to today's conversation on Brewer to Brewer Podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm pretty pumped.
Well, listen, I was stoked to be able to be asked to be a part of this podcast that John's put together by a friend of mine and mentor, Chris Pohl from Shiokaze Brewing in Japan. And as a result of that, got to talk to Chris, and now I get to host. And I was thinking, as soon as I was talking to Chris, of brewers that I would love to talk to, of people that I respected in the industry, of brands that I thought had awesome footing, that a lot of people could try to emulate, and just all around one of the best dudes out there. And Justin Neff's at the top of the list in my book.
That's pretty high praise. I appreciate that, dude.
Listen.
Now
yes.
I've got to try to find somebody following up with this, and you would have been.
Well, listen, I've done the hard work's already been done. I found the best candidate in you, and you don't have to worry about not asking me. I won't be offended since we've already talked, right? Even though you and I pontificated over many pints and many conversations about having a podcast together, John has given us a vehicle to force our hand to be able to do it. So here we are.
That's right.
And it wasn't until reading your bio I found another similarity that you and I have. I too was a young buck aspiring to be as a radio DJ. My mom would take me, she would call the radio station K93, 92.9 here in Lexington, and she would call them and say, "Hey, my son loves the radio. He pretends to be a DJ at home. Would they allow me to come sit and just watch?" And I would go to the radio station and just sit and watch them. Back then, of course, it was not as digital as now.
Nope.
But I never made it on the radio, but I found my avenue in talking about beer. So I like it that we've got another avenue that we're alike in that regard.
How have we hung out for all these years and that's never come up? That's wild.
Just another one. Well, hey, I want to get into it a little bit. We're going to talk about issues that I think are pertinent today. both in our breweries, both in the region and in the industry in general. Like I said before, no softballs today. We're going to get right into the teeth of it with hopefully some content that we hash out and other people could find interesting. So what I want to ask too was you got your background at F&B with food and beverage. You've been a lot of different places. I know you were a home brewer. And I know you had a passion for craft beer. You were one of those reformed beer geeks like myself, trading beer and writing
Yep.
about it online and all that good stuff. Uh, but why did Justin Neff pick craft beer? I know why you picked Cincinnati, with the area that's beautiful. You and your wife fell in love with it. Put some roots down there. But why craft beer? I know, just being in the seat that I am and conversations that me and you have had, and we all know the industry, they're much more profitable and there's much more probably different industries to get into that would allow you to grow bigger, being with the passion and the brain that you have. Why'd you pick beer?
The community. I mean, I've been asked this question before, and that's why I was able to answer it so fast, right? I'll never forget the first time that I went to a beer event. I actually went to Dark Lord Day for Three Floyds in Munster, Indiana, and I at the time was the furthest I had ventured from the days of college when it was just drink the cheap stuff, right? The furthest I had probably ventured out at that point was Sam Adams or Sierra Nevada Green Label Pale, and I was enamored with this idea that there were at that time hundreds of people. Now it's, if you've been to that event or anybody has been to that event, you'll know it's thousands of people at this point. At the time was hundreds, and everybody was trading their own. They were trading beers that they had made and home brewed. And I tried this beer from this dude. It was an IPA. And again, at that point, like I said, Sierra Nevada Pale was the furthest I had ventured close to that realm of what somebody would call hoppy or bitter. And I tried this beer that this dude had made. By the way, he had traveled there from Iowa to come to this. And he brought it in bombers for dudes like you and I that were in the craft beer days. When bombers were a thing, you would open a 22-ounce bomber and you'd share it between 5 or 6 people. And I remember trying to go back to that he had made, and the bottle was empty because everybody around us had been drinking it. Well, then you fast forward a couple hours, everybody's been in line. Then now people are starting to trade bottles that they've gotten from other breweries, and literally from that moment, I was hooked with this idea that a bunch of people that I met that day, we had exchanged numbers. We were talking about sending beers. This dude that I met that was homebrewing beer later sent me beers from Toppling Goliath in Iowa and other places. We became fast friends over beers, right? And then then later that day, then it's Zombie Dust. And so almost overnight, I went from this guy who loved beer but didn't know a lot of beer to falling in love with the community of what beer brought me. And so that later that week, or probably a week later, I found out there's a home brewing store in Aurora, Illinois. We were living in Naperville, Illinois at the time. I bought a carboy and a burner and all this stuff, and I brewed my first batch of beer on our kitchen stove. And true story, melted the paint in our kitchen, dude. Our house was tiny. It was a 900 square foot home. It was our first home we bought together, and I brewed a cream ale because it was an extract kit, but I thought it was awesome. And it melted the paint in our kitchen because of the steam from coming off of that pot while I was boiling, right? And my wife comes in later that night. She was out, I think, with friends or something, and comes home that night. And I'm trying to like mitigate the damage. I'm like wiping down the paint that's running in our kitchen, and she's like, "You're never doing this again." And I was like, "Well, I'm probably gonna brew beer again." And she's like, "That's fine. You're gonna do it outside."
But I guess that
So
shows your skill negotiating skills. You went from that experience to still being able to open a brewery and stake your life's claim on it, right? So
Well, one
I
of the
told everybody
things
you were
my
a charming guy. They're just now getting a taste of it.
well, one of the things that my wife and I have bonded over from day one is our love of beer. She also loves beer, so it helped when the beer didn't suck that I made.
Right.
She's like, "All right, this isn't bad." And again, it was, I'm sure trying it now, I would I would have differing opinions, but
That's that's a
the
great
process was
segue
cool.
into my next question. Like I said, we're going to start getting into some of the more beefier stuff here. Sonder beer has always been good, and it hasn't been good. It's been great that I've had. I'm not saying that
Appreciate that.
out of the gate, you all started making world class stuff. You might have had, your trials and tribulations as we did back when we got open in 2012. But from my experience of tasting Sonder beer, from the minute I've had it and every one that I've had, even if it's not a style that I feel like is a style that I love, they're all fantastically well crafted beers. That's a testament to you, to Chase, to your whole team that you have. Uh, and I think good beer, it used to be good beer was the pinnacle of having a good craft brewery, right? Like we said in Georgetown, or sorry, in Lexington, our facility, we could sell beers out of a dumpster. As long as the beer was fantastic, people would come.
Yep.
Uh, I don't believe in 2025 that's the case anymore.
Yep.
Having great beer is now the baseline. If you can't make great beer, get out, right? Like
Yep.
we're one
That's
of
the
the only
expectation.
right. We're one of the only industries that tolerates subpar people in our field. Like if there was a doctor that was botching surgeries and killing people, he wouldn't have his license long. If there was
That's right.
a lawyer committing a bunch of malpractice, or he'd be disbarred. That we don't have that accreditation, unfortunately, in the brewing world to do that. So for us now, great beer has to be the baseline. But what does Sonder do as a business, as a community partner, to make itself an addition to the community in your two locations beyond beer?
For sure, it's a great question. I would be remiss if I didn't immediately mention the rest of my partners and my team, right? That's to your point, that was always the baseline for us was we're going to make great beer. And Chase Legler, who you mentioned, my business partner, came to us from New Glarus. And, we knew obviously with that pedigree that he would have the capability of making great beer. In addition to the fact that he's a great human and a great dude, and we're able to have a great partnership because of that. But it had to be more than that. And it has to be more than that now, right? I had a mentor early on tell me that at some point, and this was back in 2016 when I was just kind of starting the business plan for what Sonder would become. And I met with him and he said, beer is the baseline. That's what's bringing everybody there. But there's going to come a point when the ones that thrive have good beer, good brand, and good distribution. And I would add a fourth to that now that I didn't think mattered as much as it does today. And frankly, at that point, probably didn't. But I would add experience. The experience to the consumer matters almost as much as I would say those four things are almost equal, which adding in my other business partner, Jennifer Meisner, who runs our brand internally here, that was a focus for us from day one was getting our beer to consumers, getting our good, high quality beer to consumers, and then building a brand that resonated with people. The word Sonder in its purest form of definition, well, by dictionary definition, Sonder is the realization that each random human is living a life as vivid and complex as you are. So that's pretty cerebral, right? That's a really cool concept, but we kind of boiled it down to a smaller thing than that. Sonder is the realization that each person is uniquely crafted. So our brand is uniquely crafted beer, right? We believe that every person has a story that walks in our doors, just like every one of our beers has a story, and we try our best to tell that story, DH. But you know as well as I do that sometimes that education can get messy, right? So what do we have to add to that? We have to add the experience for folks that maybe care less or don't know about what the brand of the overall company and each of our particular beers are. So for us as a company, we kind of shot for the moon pretty early on. We purchased 6 acres of land. We built our building from the ground up, and our goal from day one, what Jen, Chase, and I said from day one was we wanted our place to feel like a community center. We wanted it to be a place. I remember doing an interview before we started, because again, and when we announced our brewery coming to Mason, Ohio, there were no breweries at the time in Mason, Ohio. Our first media coverage, if you will. I know this isn't on video for the listeners, but I'm using air quotes because who knows what media even means anymore, right? But at the time, we had a news outlet that asked if they could interview us and talk to us because our plans looked a little bit different. It wasn't at the time what a lot of breweries were much like what your all's location in Lexington started as, right? It's this small facility that feels like just this really cool place that it's almost like speakeasy, like, right? If you know, and you go there, but it's packed all the time. I'm speaking specifically of your Lexington location. I remember going there in 2013 and it was packed, but you go in there and you want to be a part of it because the energy's high, the vibes are high. And oh, by the way, the beer is really damn good, right? And we were putting that on its head a little bit. We were building a new building from the ground up. We bought 6 acres. We said in that interview that I'm speaking of, that first interview, we said we wanted our place to feel like a place where mom and dad would come during the day and bring their kids, but they wanted to come back at night for a date. And so we had to find a way to do that. 6 acres of land is a lot of land to utilize. So we added a turf over time, not right away. Once funds would allow it, we added a beer garden outside. We added a turf patch where kids could come and throw a football or kick a soccer ball or whatever that looks like. Then we put an outdoor bar out there. So for me, our physical brewery in Mason matters so much to our community because it's a place where everybody feels welcome and they can show up and there's something for them to do, even if they don't love our beer. But it's more than that, right? Because the other piece to that is being a part of our community. So how do we go out? I'm really proud of our philanthropic side of things. Haley Shutter is a member of our team who runs all of our charitable giving and all of our philanthropic side of things. And she has such a passion for that has built our community presence just by making sure that we're a part of all of the stuff going on. We've added so many team members since then that is the thing I'm most proud of. And a lot of our team looks and feels different, right? So how do we include them and their friends and what they're doing? We had an event really quickly. This is just an example of what you're talking about.
Right.
But we had an event last summer where we had somebody reach out to us about having Highland cows out on our land. And I remember,
I was talking about Highland cows with my daughter this morning in the car line. I'm not lying. Not
of
lying.
course you were. Of course you
I'm
were.
not lying.
You're a country boy. Of course you were. I didn't even know what a Highland cow was, bro. And Christy is one of our team members who manages our on-site events. And I remember she and Haley kind of come to me and they're like, "Hey, we have this event that we have an opportunity. They bring everything. They bring the cows. They bring the small pen, and people come out and they can actually take photos with the cows." I'm like, "What, guys? What are we doing?" Right? Like my first thought. It wasn't no, don't do it. I'm just thinking to myself, we're bringing cat. Like, wow, right? And turned out that day was one of our best in terms of revenue for the day on site. Was one of our best days we had in 2 years. And the reason I bring that up is it's the creativity of all of our different team members of thinking things. Right last month in January, we had a murder mystery event in our tap room where we had a group of people who managed the event, and Haley and her team and Christy and everybody, they provide the space, and we have people that come in that ran a murder mystery event in the tap room with a bunch of people, by the way, that had never been here. That Sonder isn't something that they would normally go to or think about, but they were interested in this event. We offered a space, they come in, and then we've had people reach out after that they were here for that event saying, I didn't know about this, love the food, love your beer and the experience. So I think it's
You
all
keep
about just getting creative and offering stuff to people that,
you
it's
keep, you
not like
keep
you
giving me
said.
segues into my next
Yeah, hit
questions
me.
because now, and these are going to be a little bit quick hitter. What would a Sonder drinker say about what Sonder means to the community? So put yourself like not we both know what we want and we wish our brands meant to the community, but put yourself in a Sonder drinker, whether it be a member of your local community locally or somebody that drinks your product out in distro. What would they say what Sonder means?
I would hope they would say it's consistent. That they know if they're drinking something from Sonder, that they know that it's going to be high quality and it's something that they like, and that they see. We partner with school events, right? So the boosters, and people are able to have it there, and hopefully they feel like it's supporting their kids and supporting the community that they involve in. So my hope would be that they would say it's consistent.
Okay. What would a Sonder employee say about working for Justin?
Man,
Told you we're gonna hit them hard, man.
yeah.
Because I'm gonna follow up some of these with what I think a country boy employee would say about working for a DH too. So, but I'm gonna make you go
Yeah.
first.
I hope that they would say that um, it's meaningful. We still have we still have 5 team members. I try not to use the word employee because that's not the way that I view our team, and I hope that nobody else
Love it.
does either. Right? We're a team, so we still have 5 team members that we hired within the first month of opening that are here, and that's everything from a beer tender to our production team, to marketing to other things. So um, I would hope they would say it's meaningful, that they feel like working for me, that they feel valued, and I would hope that they would say it's fun too.
Um, yeah, I think if I could throw a question back in my face, we don't know what they. I guess we need to do a better job of asking our people, right? So we don't live in an echo chamber in a bubble and knowing how they feel. But what I would hope someone would say about working at Country Boy and working for DH is, I'll echo the same thing you said at first. From our bartenders all the way up to people that have worked here for 10 years, every now and then we'll be having pints in the tap room and someone will be like, we know what you guys do well. Here's what you all should do. Or when you're going to open up this new tap room, we always try to stop everybody and be like, you know what we do well? Do you know what we should do? Do you know what this our new project, speaking those kind of words where we're people talk about, a lot of inclusivity is a buzzword in 2024, 2025, right? But like that, we want to be the most true to definition of that word, of like make everyone here feel that that we all win in our successes and we all learn from our failures, right? And I would hope they would say that I care at the end of the day. I'm not going to lean too much on our faith backgrounds. I'm going to bring that up in the second half, but you know, I hope people would look at, and I know I speak for you and your brand as well, but like the we're going to endear ourselves to the community with authenticity and with being deliberate. And by one way we do that is people knowing that we care and knowing that we're people of integrity and knowing that we run businesses of integrity. And I would hope our people would say that at the end of the day, when they see us sitting in our seats, that they know that there's a friendly ear they can talk to with its advice about life or suggestions about the business. But at the end of the day, that our character stands for for what we hope it to be. All right,
But
we're gonna keep going. I got. All right, yep, jump in.
can I just add something to that real quick?
Absolutely.
I agree with everything. Also, as your friend and somebody that knows you well, I would say that is absolutely accurate about your team and what you do.
Well,
So I agree
John
with that.
John didn't let me host this podcast so I could fish for compliments. Well, I'm gonna cast a few lines out there while we're going.
No,
Uh, let well
but
let me
that's
let me roll
go
into
ahead.
this one then. What would Justin's kids say about Sonder? What Sonder is, what it means.
Oh man, my kids love coming to Sonder. They love it. If
Just
we're
be aware this is going to play into a two-part question I've got in the next segment. So
Okay, my kids love telling their friends that their dad is one of the owners of Sonder, and that never ceases to make me super proud and happy. My kids love coming here. They love coming here with their friends, or every time they come here, they know somebody that's here. So it's always fun. It can get stressful because they're running around, and again, as my kids are still relatively young, I span from 12 to 7. So especially my younger ones, I have to watch and make sure they're not one of the gremlins that's throwing rocks across our beer garden or doing something like that, right? So it can get a little stressful, but I would think my kids would say they're proud and it's fun.
I'd say they're spot on in their
Yeah, thanks,
assessment.
man. Thanks, man.
All right, well, we're going to take a short break for this message and then come right back for more of this conversation with Justin Neff of Sonder Brewing.
It doesn't matter what size your brewery is, 1 barrel or 1,000. Maybe you're in planning. Whatever the size or situation, Ollie has helped brewers save money and become more efficient. The best part? When you're talking to the Ollie team, you're talking to people who have worked in the industry. Learn more about Ollie and how it's transforming breweries everywhere at getollie.com/pod. That's getollie.com/pod. Malteurop Malting Company is proud to introduce the new Malta 2-row, grown and malted in Mexico. At Malteurop, they're proud to be growing and producing malt in Mexico. They work hand in hand with Mexican farmers to ensure the best barley, which is then processed in their own local Mexico malt house to create this exceptional Malta 2-row. This product is a superior quality 2-row base malt and provides consistent quality designed to satisfy your desire to brew a true Mexican lager. Contact Malteurop today and visit malteuropmaltingco.com.
All right, welcome back. Segment number 2 with my good friend Justin Neff, president of Sonder Brewing. I committed that we were going to not, just throw some softballs and some dainty questions back and forth. And we got into it a little bit of the last half of the first segment with some questions I had for Justin about how he thought what Sonder's mission was, both to the community and to his team, and how they were viewed by the community and the team. So let's talk about we get to talk in this industry a lot about our origin stories. People think it's really cool. Like, well, how'd you get into this business? And what'd you do in a previous life to make you get into beer? And how much fun is beer? And those are all awesome questions. And we love talking about how we got here. But let's talk about where we go from here. I was at a part of the Kentucky Guild of Brewers educational conference last month, where our industry gathers together brewers of all sizes, home brewers, even breweries and planning, where we talk about the industry. And I was a little bit concerned with the lack of urgency, is one way to say it, or lack of severity that other breweries, not all of them, but some breweries had, or the lack that they didn't have, uh, of concern for trends that we're seeing in the market. Craft beer is not in 2012 and 2014 and 2016 and 2018 when you guys opened. It's not what it was then. It has changed. You mentioned in the first segment that community that was created, and I echo it. You were 100% of friends are either around a homebrew kettle in the backyard or around a table filled with bombers of all types of different flavors and from different countries and parts of the world and parts of this country that brewed different takes on different styles, and we all mold over the different nuanced flavors and how awesome these crazy rare beers were that we could find, and we ate wild foods with them, and we made new friendships, and we met people that we'd never thought we'd met before with all this beer stuff. Uh, but that people don't do that anymore. That's rare in these days. So how do we recreate and recapture that community that we had with those bombers and fire pits back in the day when we've got iPhones and light beer?
I think I think we all have to care about this industry, and we have to care about this product, right? Um, when I go to, and it's easy for DH and Justin to say this. It's easy for us to say we own the businesses, right? So it's easy for
Fair point.
us to say our houses are on the line, right? It's easy for us to say that our livelihoods are at stake. So if we go to a bar, we're obviously going to drink Country Light or Eagle Light, right? We're going to drink You Betcha or Cliff Jumper or whatever, right? We're going to ask for Country Boy on tap or Sonder on tap. But we as a group, a community of people have to care about craft beer, right? How many times have you gone into a bar? Let's just say it's not with your team, because I don't think you or I want to go down that rabbit hole, just in case uh, how the answers might be, right? But let's just say you go into a bar and there's a brewer from a brewery that doesn't distribute their product. Well, hopefully they're not drinking Miller High Life, right? Hopefully they're supporting another craft brewery. Um, that's the hope, right? And look, I in full disclosure, sitting here with all of our, I can audibly hear a good buddy of mine listening to this that would say, "Well, you drink Bush Light." Well, sure I do, but and I like a good Bush Light as much as the next guy. But we're never going to get back to what craft beer was if our first thought and priority isn't, man, I want a good IPA right now, or I love a light lager. um, I need to make sure that I'm trying to, if they have a craft beer available, that's where my head goes, right, initially. And again, I'm guilty of it as well. I think part of part of what we've seen is with so much beer available to consumers have gotten exhausted or overwhelmed with the amount of options. And so a lot of people will go to something they know when they're afraid that they're not going to like what they got, because there's so many options and handles are rotating, and they don't know if it's old or fresh, and they don't know if they're going to like what's in it, and they don't know X, Y, and Z. So then they freak out. It's paralysis by analysis, and they're like, just give me a Miller Lite because I know what that tastes like.
Right.
Um, so, personally for me, I mean, that's a mission that I'm trying to bang the drum for. I don't know how far I'll get into it, but I think that's what we have to really push as leaders within not only our company, but with hopefully within the industry, right? Is, man, yes, we are competition because in a lot of ways, a lot of us are fighting for the same consumer. But how can we expect other people to go buy or drink our product if they don't see that that's the first thing we're going to do as well?
I swear I didn't give Justin my questions that I had pinned out before he answered these, but that rolls right into in 2012 to 2015, I would say, in the Lexington market, if people asked about the other craft breweries that were popping up around us or even in the region, I would always say it's not that type of industry. It's not competition. We all want everybody to succeed. The old rising tides and all boats analogy. We're friends. We drink in each other's tap rooms. When we go to bars that are great bars, we advocate for other people's handles as well as ours. We're all about craft beer on the nationwide scale, and then we're all about Kentucky beer, and then we're all about Lexington beer as we distill down. Uh, what's different about 2025 and how it was back then? Because I don't see that anymore. Some of it's on me. The phone works both ways. We don't talk to our brewery friends as much as we used to. Is it just a factor of the market tightening that we've become competitors to each other, or is it another external factor that we haven't picked up on yet?
I think it's a lot of what you just said. Um, you know, think of Lexington alone in 2000. Let's use 18 when I started. How many breweries were in Lexington in 2018?
6 or 7, yeah.
And about that now? Have there been more open, or what is that?
We've lost a few, but there's still more than that now. Yeah, we've probably up three since then, but there've been more come and go, a handful of 4 or 5 come and go in addition to that. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's part of it, right? It's really easy to say, for us, Common Beer Company are good friends of ours. They're in Mason as well. They're right down the street from us. And in full disclosure, this isn't just words. Hopefully, this is something else my team would say to you. We always, when somebody comes to the bar, and we have ones that we have better relationships with than others, but we have always tried to support the other places that come in. We're right off the highway for both of our locations. We have a second location now in Westchester, Ohio, and right off the highway. So we'll get several people that will come in and say, "Yeah, I'm here. We're down from Columbus, or we're down from Cleveland, or whatever, and we stopped here and we're going to breweries for the rest of the day. Where should we go?" And we will always say, you gotta go to this place, and you gotta try this, and you gotta go that. One thing you said that I completely agree with is the phone does work both ways. And I think as business has tightened for all of us, I think the first thought is always, well, man, there's only so much share of stomach, there's only so much share of wallet, there's only so much share of fridge. And so as options have increased, it is, just natural human instinct to go, well, man, I hope I'm not giving away my business by sending them somewhere else. And I think as options, at least for me, right, as options have increased for other experiences for consumers, I have my favorites, and a lot of those times, those favorites are driven by personal relationships, right? I mean, Country Boy is always my first one. You know that we sell some your products we don't offer here in cans just to be able to continue to support you guys. So it does start with those personal relationships, and then it always goes to product as well, right? That's good product. But to your point earlier, now there is so much good product that if we're going to push people to other places, the next factor is who do I care about as a human and care about their business succeeding as well as ours. So that often will drive our and then it naturally ebbs and flows down. They say, it comes from the top down, right? Well, if the owners of the company and the leaders in the company care about places, then the bartenders and everybody else know that, and so they're going to naturally push people to those places as well. But man, it's all about, and back to that, how I started this conversation, it's all about the community. And if the community is not there, then we're not going to have any sort of thrive or drive to push people there. The other thing I would say, not to make this super long-winded, but the other thing I would say is when back when you guys started Country Boy, and it was certainly this way when you guys started, and it was still more so than it is today, like this when we started in 2018. But people started breweries because they loved beer, and they loved the idea of building a community through their beer. And as the industry continued to grow, sometimes 300% year over year, especially with new breweries opening and other things, I think, and I don't know this, I haven't met anyone like this, but it's just when you just think of the growth of natural business, and you think of matriculation in other areas, just naturally, I think it became cool. And I think a lot of people thought it was easy. And for a while, it probably was to open and start a brewery. So you probably had a lot of people that were opening breweries that didn't really care all that much about craft beer. And so for them, it was a business and it wasn't the community that I think was craft beer of the day. And when you think of it just like a business, you're probably not going to send people somewhere else because you don't want them to grow, because you want to grow, right?
Okay, well, again, the theme continues. Country Boy got to 10,000 barrels of production without much of a plan. And I could say that with just being an open book and being transparent to our friends and colleagues in the industry. We had great products. My partners were making great beer. We had a great brand, right timing, right place, right people. Uh, fell in, you know, my partner Daniel Sinkhorn, who is our first full-time employee, him joining the team and his institutional knowledge that he had and his work ethic. I'm, I don't want to make anyone mad that worked really, really hard, because we all did. Because I don't want to say we got to 10,000 barrels without having to work hard. We did. We worked hard, but we got to 10,000 barrels pretty easy. A lot of breweries did, and a lot of breweries did without a business model, without a lot of business acumen, without understanding how to read a P&L, without, the business type background that a lot of other industries have to start with. You wouldn't start a hardware store without a plan. You wouldn't, open up a law firm or a landscaping business without a plan. But somehow in the brewing world, we could say we love the beer, and so we're so passionate about it, we don't have to have one. It ain't easy no more.
Nope.
So how do the breweries that grew and that didn't have a plan to get to where they're at today, whether it be 100, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, that they got to where they're at, how do they double, or how do they grow, or how do they stay status quo, uh, with having to develop a plan and a strategy and identity on the run?
Well, I think, and this is, whether, to your point, it doesn't matter what your industry is. When you're leading people and leading an organization, you have to know your blind spots and your weaknesses as well as your strengths, right? And if somebody started a brewery because they liked to homebrew beer but didn't know anything about business, to your point, and I'm not saying this is who you guys are, but if you were able to do that then without having a great knowledge of accounting, let's say, and this is a pretty applicable example for y'all because I know the dude who runs your books, and you guys had the foresight to know, hey, we got all the way here. This maybe isn't our strength, so let's hire somebody that's really good at that, and find this is a blind spot for me, so I'm going to do this. We're blessed because the three of us, Jen, Chase, and myself, balance each other really, really well. We have very different strengths. As much as I loved home brewing beer, and it was okay, it wasn't great beer. It was okay. We drank it. It was good, fine.
Another similarity we share.
Not a great home brewer, DH.
No, 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 no.
Well, and Jen owned a design company for 17 years before her and I got connected. We lived in the same neighborhood. Well, neither one of us knew it was a good idea in 2018 to start our business with running production. And by the grace of God, we found Chase, who I would put up against anybody I know in this industry in terms of his knowledge and just the mechanical side that he has that I don't have. You know, if we need to install a PRV valve at our brewery, which we had to do last week, Chase is the first who's willing to step on a ladder and do that. And he has the knowledge to do that. I would be on YouTube trying to figure that out, right? And I can't. I like to think I'm somewhat creative. I certainly don't have the ability to design labels for our products. Well, Jen does, right? And Jen understands and knows trends within marketing. And I kind of stay on the business side of things. And so the three of us balance each other out really well. Well, none of us had ever run a tap room. So we have to hire the right person to be able to do that because it's not the strength of any of the three of us. So I think for businesses, to answer your question more directly, for businesses, as it gets harder for businesses to keep growing, you have to get creative, but you also have to know who and when and how to hire the people who complement what you do, not just offset it, but complement your style and what you do. And to be honest with you, you know, and like you said, I don't want to make anyone mad. I know you were talking about your own company. I don't want this to sound offensive to anyone that might be listening to this, but I think it's continuing to get harder, and it's going to continue to be challenging as our industry changes and shapes and plateaus a little bit from the decades of double digit growth. And I think we're going to see some people who are just tired because it's changed so much, and it's okay to be tired. But if those people um, aren't interested in hiring people to offset, you know, some of the things they do, then I think that's where we're going to continue to see some challenges.
All right, I got a super hard hitting one here, and I'm asking this one just because I know a little intimate knowledge about you and your character and some of the history there. There's nothing better uh, when you run a company like we run, or we aspire to run, and then as you all run at Sonder, of bringing people on the team that, like you said, add to the team, that bring institutional knowledge from different backgrounds, that fill in your blind spots, and being able to have them on board. Nothing is more fulfilling and putting gas in the tank and giving to work and seeing those people every day. And at the same time, nothing can be more draining than when you got to let them go or part ways. Talk about that for folks listening, with the experience that you guys have, about what's the hardest part about breaking up with somebody, either from them or for you, and how do you recover from it?
Yeah, I mean, it's something, you know, I don't think it's, especially if there's people within our industry listening, everyone knows that the last 18 months have been challenging. Um, and and again, every industry kind of goes through it. I think ours is going through it really quickly, or it seems really quickly because of how the industry grew for so long. And I am, brother, you know me well enough to know what I mean by this statement. I know that I try my best, but I don't always make the best or the right decisions either. And what makes when you have to um, reduce team members, it's the hardest thing personally that I've ever had to go through. We had to
Agree.
eliminate it. We had to eliminate a position for the first time in the 6 years of our company last year, just to try to course correct some of the trends within the industry. And I know for myself and my two partners, that was the hardest day any of us have ever had professionally. Um, there's a tough balance that I don't know that I'm great at, between trying to be, again, using the air quotes, if we were on video, of boss, but then also trying to be, um, friend. And we built our business by calling our team the Sonder family. That's the most passionate thing I am within this company, or have the most passion for, is our team. And we opened our second location, and then quickly after that opened our kitchen in our first location. So we went from 38 employees to 75 within a matter of 3 months. And during those 3 months, there was nothing more fulfilling. Exactly what you said, right? Getting to provide opportunity for other people, or being a part of providing opportunity for other people. And that all can get wiped away, even though we doubled our team and we added, over 30. Having to eliminate one offsets the joy of that, right? And um, I think I think recovering from that is figuring out, for me, is trying to figure out what fills my bucket personally outside of this place, because I try not to make Sonder my identity, but that's really, really hard, right? And so for me, it's trying to find, if I when I walk out of these doors, and being with my family, how do I find what fulfills me outside of there? Because otherwise, man, I'll spiral, and then I'll want to. In this particular case, I'm wanting to reach out and make sure that this person's okay, and that this person is going to be better, and going, and that's not healthy either, right? So, um, fortunately, we've only had to do that, a handful of times, where we've had to let people go, whether it be from eliminating a position or just not being the right fit. Um, but it's the hardest. It's by far the hardest thing that we can do.
All right, I'm going to go off the grid here a little bit and just keep in that same vein. You said something that piqued my interest. I've I've gone on record a lot around here talking about, a lot of the rock stars of our industry are gone. Uh, they're they're not dead, but they're just gone. They're not around
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
Uh, when me and you were coming up, uh, the lions of our industries, some of the folks that had their names tied to the beer, or the head brewers, or the people that just represented the movement, that embodied the movement, that were the movement incarnate, aren't here anymore.
yeah.
Uh, but on a small level, I'll put you. I'm not going to say that you're headlining Bonnaroo just quite yet, but you're probably paying headline on the side
Nah,
stage.
nah.
Uh, but to do that, to be the face, to be somebody that represents the brand, the embodiment of what Sonder is, you have to be that identity, and you have to tie your identity and self-worth to that as well. Talk about that balance a little more. How do you embrace the fact that when people think of Sonder, they think of Justin? I do. And then how do you balance that with, when you go home at night, that dad's home, not face of Sonder?
It's a really good question, man, and it's not something I'm great at, to be honest with you. Um, my faith kind of pulls me back a little bit on that, so I would say that's like the first and foremost piece is, um, for myself, I like I know that this is the case, but I have to continue to remind myself that first and foremost, my identity is there. Um, it's, child of God before it's the owner, or one of the owners, of Sonder Brewing. Especially, I mentioned, my kids will talk about it, and so I wear that. I'm proud of that, and I love when they talk about that. But I have to try to bring that down too. The other piece that's hard for guys like you and I, because I know you and I are cut from the same cloth with a lot of this stuff, but it's really easy for me to get sucked into the day, and I see a bunch of our team, they're down at the bar, and they're enjoying a shifty, and they're hanging out and they're laughing. The first thing I want to do is go over there with them and hang out. And I try to, as much as I can, so that I can be a part of that. But the other piece of that is, I've got to go be with my family too. So this year I kind of dove headfirst into coaching all my kids' sports, like all of them. And I
Brave
love it.
man.
It takes up a lot of time, but it forces me to get out of the door too. because otherwise, then my family's not getting the best of me; they're getting what's left of me.
Right,
And
right.
so for me, that's helped, but that's a challenge. When it comes to either within our industry or um, within people that we know around here, because I genuinely believe this and feel this is um, I try to make sure that people know that I worked really hard and continue to work really hard at trying to build our team, but the, I am far from. I appreciate your compliment and what you said, but if I had to say anything, it would be a band, right? It's not just the Neff headlining Bonnaroo, and hopefully that's what the team would say too. Is we have a band because we are only as good as the rest of our team doing everything we do. So I try to make sure that those guys are getting that our team is getting the credit that they deserve. Because to your point, and I try to be really active in our community. I'm on our board of directors for our local chamber, and so I try to champion our company as much as I can. But outside of that, I like to champion our people because uh, tomorrow everybody could quit, and then what, right? Then Sonder is nothing. Sonder isn't Justin. It's the group of our people.
I love it.
I know that sounds
I'm
super cliche and corny and cheesy, but it's genuinely how I feel.
Well, I'm gonna hit you with an uppercut, and then we're gonna end up with just some lighthearted stuff, right?
All right.
So we're coming off of dry January, which a lot of people I find it's surprising to me when I talk about dry January being bad for business. I think that a lot of people are shocked by that, of how big it is.
Right.
We're coming off of that. We're in the middle, or at least in the midst, or maybe the first volley is a better way to say it, of the no safe level of alcohol movement that's taken off. Basically saying that every drop of alcohol a person consumes is detrimental to their health, is toxic, and there's no safe level a person can consume, as well as marketing trends showing that 21 to 25-year-olds are drinking less in general, especially craft beer. Uh, so we got all these things that are going on, and I'm gonna again, we're peeling back the veil a little bit here. I'm gonna talk about things in reality. We know that people don't hear the word alcohol and beer the day they turn 21. That their preconceived experience or their experiences that people have as growing up with their family and with friends, where they're exposed to the idea of alcohol, of social drinking, of holidays with beer around, with being a celebratory beverage, at the end of a reward after a hard day. How does Justin, and I'll throw DH in there too, how do Justin and DH, Justin as a person of faith, DH as a person of faith, how do Justin and DH deal with the fact that we are trying to actively market our beer to a younger generation, to our kids, to teach them how to drink our beer, to be a part of our community, and do that responsibly, ethically, morally?
So let me flip it on you for a second. So, uh, does Wiley ever show up at the brewery?
Always. But now let me just a caveat for the people listening. Wadley shows up more at the brewery for the smoked bologna melt, add egg and sauteed onions just as much as he does because dad's here or there's something else fun going on. So that's a
Okay,
testament
so
to Big Steve and in the team in the kitchen. But yes, both of my kids love being in the tap room and love being here and being seen and being a part of it.
so they love being a part of the community of it, right? So the cool thing is, we get to show our kids and hopefully other kids that beer can be community without being detrimental to health, to lifestyle, to all of the negative facets and points of your life, right? Um, my kids are going to see, hopefully, um, a strong view of alcohol being enjoyed without it being abused. And there's a big difference, right? Um, and I don't want to, I know that's not what this is, so I'm not going to make this super existential and all that other stuff. But Jesus didn't turn water to wine to judge the people who drank the wine, right? I there's a difference between abuse of alcohol and enjoying alcohol. Um, for hundreds and hundreds of years, people have used alcohol as a way for community. when you mentioned celebratory, when somebody has something good happen, the first thing is let's go have a beer.
Right.
Um, nobody's you know nobody's saying anything about let's go have a beer. It's the part where we are being fed a lot of misinformation about alcohol, is this idea that it's abused at this high level, and it is from some people. You and I both know that, but just because people enjoy it doesn't mean they're killing themselves. My pushback or challenge to that, anytime that has been brought up to me recently, is okay. Well, what about all the dyes in your cheese you're eating?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're being pushed some stuff about right now, the no safe level movement and all this stuff. Well, beer is 4 ingredients, brother. How many ingredients are in the food in everybody's, again, not what this podcast is about, but we also need to talk about it. Like, people need to be talking about this at a different level, because to your point, we have to defend our livelihoods and what we're doing, and it can be at a healthy level. I'm not a fan of broad brushing anything, right? I think when people start to broad brush, whether it's the stuff they're putting in the body or the way they feel or any of these other things, um, I'm just not a fan of that, because generally speaking, it never leads to something healthy. I only have one rule at my bar when I'm bartending, and it's that we don't talk about politics or anything divisive. We have fun, man.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what's happening right now is trying to squash some of that fun, and it sucks. It's not awesome. But I also think we have to continue to be advocates, not just for ourselves and for our businesses, but for the hundreds of team members that you and I, their
Right.
livelihoods rely on this. And um, I think right now and maybe hopefully I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I think right now it's trendy and sexy to talk about the adverse health stuff of alcohol, but people have been drinking alcohol for hundreds of years, and I think if we just continue to do it the right way, and we continue to help beer be part of the community, that people will hopefully realize and understand that there is some misinformation out there about it.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. And I'm going to try to button it up here, even though I got a couple more questions I might sneak in if I'm allowed, but or a couple fun ones. I think our best counterpunch to that argument is just like you said, historical data of I would push back thousands of years humans have
Right.
drank alcohol and beer and enjoyed it as a addition to life rather than a detractor. But the the burden is on us to show responsible consumption. And I'm not saying you got to have one beer and be done with it. You can have a couple beers and lower your inhibitions and let your heart rate go down a little bit
Sure.
and have a good time and make some great memories with your family and friends. But the burden's on us to show that enjoy responsibly in community. Uh, and the best thing that we have going for us is I firmly believe that no matter what transpires and takes place. But at the end of a hard day's work, where a guy's been swinging a hammer or pushing a pin or working on the factory line, at the end of a hard day's work, that he or she doesn't come home and say, "Man, I've worked my tail off today. I cannot wait to pop that energy drink or that seltzer water or that." I'm not trying to make any enemies in the industry, but that's a cold beer moment right there, right?
Yep.
And when your buddy tells you, "Hey, me and my wife are expecting, our first son," I don't rush out to be like, "Hey, let's go grab coffee together." I love coffee, but that's a beer moment. That's a beer
Hmm.
thing of let's crack a beer together. Dude, I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to see what this is going to do for you. Your friend tells you he's getting married. Uh, she's getting married. You get a promotion at work. You get to call your mom and dad and tell them that you graduated with honors or you finally got your doctorate passed. That's beer moments, right?
Yep.
Additionally, you find out that a high school classmate of yours passed away tragically, and you call your friends that you commiserate over the memories you have with them. That's a beer moment. You remember your first beer with your dad. You maybe remember your last beer if you've had that transpire in your life with your dad with a loved one, and those are beer moments that are solidified in the future in stone going forward. And that's what me and you have going for us with brands that we have that have lower followings, that have strong community and strong buy-in from the community that understands what we stand for. Those folks know, hey, when life calls for a brand moment, a beer moment, I know which brand I'm reaching for. And that's gonna be a Sonder beer, a Country Boy beer.
I love that. It's so true. What's
Well,
your
I mean,
favorite? Let me ask you one. What's your favorite moment to have a beer? I'm not talking like an occasion or a celebration. I'll give you mine while you think about it because mine's the
okay,
easiest answer on the planet.
okay,
My favorite occasion to have a beer or favorite beer moment is on a lake, boat, music up, and I'm floating in the water. Throw me a beer, dude. That is my
yeah.
favorite time to drink a beer on the water.
Oh my gosh. My favorite beer moment is probably I could say something about hunter fishing, but I feel like that's cliche and that's not really the
That's what I
uh,
thought you would say while
you're
you're
right.
done
Like,
that.
yeah, I just landed a big fish. I cracked your beer up. And you're like, no, that's probably not it. What comes to mind right now is I'm going on vacation with my family. With I got my
Yep.
wife riding shotgun, the kids are in the back. We've been driving all day, uh, maybe multiple days, depending on how the trip has gone. Uh, we pull into the vacation house and I crack a beer of the 6 pack that I bought at the little liquor store,
Yes.
grocery store as we got onto the area where the house was, and I drink that first beer because I know that's the first time it's been a long time coming. I've been driving all day. I've been working for it. I deserve it, and it's the first of a bunch I'm going to drink that week.
I love it.
While
Your first beer on vacation. I
that's
love
right,
it.
the first vacation beer, as my daughter would say, just hits different. Uh, Hey, last
I
thing I want
love
to
it.
ask as we wind up here, and it's been a great time talking to you
Yeah,
uh,
this is awesome.
and getting the insight not only from your experience with Sonder, but of you uh, talking about how you think the industry is going to go. Uh, go back to 2018. Uh, give me one business and one personal. What's Justin tell himself in 2018? Do more of this and do less of this.
Oh
Do
man.
more of what? Do less of what?
Um, ooh. I should have anticipated a question like this. I should have been more prepared. Um, on the personal side of things, I would say do
You want
so
me to
when
go first
we
with mine?
sure go for it. Yeah.
On the personal side, I would say do less of bringing home the stuff that doesn't matter,
Mhm.
right? So at the end of the day, the things that have transpired during the day that aren't going to matter in 24 hours, don't bring it home and don't talk about it to the wife. Don't let it cloud the time with the kids, anything like that. The stuff that's inconsequential, the drain will get snaked, the toilet will get repaired, uh, the clamp we need, the pump that's down will get fixed. Don't bring that home on a personal level. Do less of that. Do more of just be positive. I know that sounds cliche as you talked about. Uh, so there's my two.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I would say on the business side of things, I had somebody that I admire a lot tell me a couple of years ago. So we, 4 years in or whatever it was, and I wish somebody would have told me this, frankly, before. Well, like I wish I would have heard this when I was a kid. Uh, don't let perfection be the enemy of good. And
Yeah.
I think oftentimes, maybe not just in business, but just in general, um, get a little gun shy of doing something or a little worried about doing something. 'Cause it's like, well, I want to come out of the gate strong, or I want to do this well. But sometimes perfection can pause progress, right? And so I wish I would have thought about that more in 2018 when we started. Was sometimes you gotta. It may not be perfect the first time you do it. You got to be all right with maybe stumbling out of the gates a little bit because then you're still going to finish the race, right? So
Right.
I wish I would have been told that earlier. I love that. On the personal side of things, I would say that when we opened Sonder, just by the timing of everything, my son was born in April of 2018, and we opened in October of 2018. And I probably am guilty of hanging on to things a little too tight. So I wish I would have done more. handing things off and trusting people to do things um, earlier, because almost every time that I've trusted somebody to take something that I otherwise was worried about, they do it as well or better than I did anyway.
Right.
So I wish I would have delegated or handed more off at an earlier time so that I don't feel like I was a little less involved with my family for those first 2 years of starting the business.
I love it. Great advice. Now we see to do the thing, which is actually take it going forward,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Now actually do it, right? Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, Justin, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure of mine to be able to talk to you over the last hour
Awesome.
in this vehicle from All About Beer, the Brewer podcast that John has put up. Justin will be back on the next episode of this show as he has the distinct honor of hosting a conversation with a brewer of his choosing. That will be on the air in 2 weeks. Make sure you tune back in for that. A reminder again, visit allaboutbeer.com and follow up on social media. To support journalism in the beer space, please check out allaboutbeer.com/support. And again, I'm Daniel D.H. Harrison of Country Boy Brewing. It's been my distinct honor to talk to Justin Neff of Sonder this past hour. And thank you again for listening to the Brewer to Brewer podcast.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Malteurop Malting Company is proud to introduce the new Malta Two-Row, grown and malted in Mexico. At Malteurop, they're proud to be growing and producing malt in Mexico. They work hand in hand with Mexican farmers to ensure the best barley, which is then processed in their own local Mexico malt house to create this exceptional Malta Two-Row. This product is a superior quality two-row base malt and provides consistent quality designed to satisfy your desire to brew a true Mexican lager. Contact Malteurop today and visit malteuropmaltingco.com. This episode was proudly brought to you by Ollie, the brewery software that could save you massive amounts of money and time, just like we did for hundreds of brewers like you in 2024. Make 2025 the year you switch to Ollie and discover why it's the fastest growing brewery software trusted by thousands of brewers across the globe. Visit getollie.com/pod to learn more. One more time, that's getollie.com/pod. Cheers.